Okay, so we're going to go through exceptions and throwing exceptions and catching exceptions. So if you remember from the errors video, an exception is thrown during a runtime error. And you actually, as a programmer, have the ability to throw exceptions. You might want to do this when you're going to pass your code on to someone else and you need to let them know that something bad could happen. There's also certain things that you will do, like trying to open a file that's very prone to error, so you have to make sure you handle those errors. So let's look at this right now. We got a main function, nothing's happening. And we have this not bigger than 5 function. And what I want it to do is throw an error if the number x is not bigger than 5. So let's have a look. We'll go if x is larger than 5. Sorry, I want it to throw an error if it is bigger than 5, right? If x is larger than 5, throw new exception like so. And that's it. So now this is going to throw an exception. But you're going to see you get a compilation error. You get this red line telling you something's wrong. And that is because if you make a function that throws an exception, you need to let the person who's going to use that function know that it throws an exception. You have to let them know that an error could occur. To do that, you just write throws next to the function. Method and function are the same thing, by the way. Next to the method name, method or function, and you say throws exception. And this means that whenever you call not bigger than 5, that you know it throws an exception and you need to make sure you handle that exception. So if we go up to main now, we're going to try and call not bigger than 5. If you're wondering how I did that, control space tries to autocorrect and gives you options for auto completion. Makes things quicker. So not bigger than 5, and I'm going to put in 7. We get another red line, and that is because when you know that a method throws an exception, you need to make sure you handle that exception if it gets thrown. So what we're going to do is use something called a try-catch block. So you go try, and then you put the code in that might throw an exception here. And then you say catch. And in the brackets of the catch, you say what you're trying to catch. And we're going to say exception of type, we'll say exception E. And E is just the name that we're giving it. We could call this exception X, we could call it wrong, we could call it whatever we want. So we catch exception wrong. And then inside the catch loop, we're going to put code that we want to do if we catch the exception. So we'll put system.out.print line, and we will print exception, oops, something went wrong, right? And then we have the finally statement, and the finally statement is what happens after everything. And it happens if the error is caught or not. So system.out.print line, let's say happens, like so. All right. So what's going on here? Well, here's our main function. We're going to try to use not bigger than 5. But not bigger than 5 may throw an exception. So we got to handle that. So we try it. If it throws the exception, we print out something went wrong. And then whether or not the exception is thrown, we're going to print happens. So let's play. Something went wrong happens because 7 is bigger than 5. And that's when we throw an exception. But if I put this to 4, it works. So that's an example of throwing exceptions, controlling when exceptions are thrown, and trying to catch them. You can actually use try-catch loops on exceptions you don't explicitly throw. For example, let's say I say try, and I say int 0, let's say try int x equals 7 divided by 0. That's not going to work. And so what I'm going to catch is an arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception, wrong. System.out.println cannot divide by 0. And so now I have my try-catch loop. It's going to attempt to make this work, but there's going to be an error because you can't divide by 0. And instead of doing a runtime error, it's going to catch it and print this instead. Cannot divide by 0 happens from before. So that's it. So that's all we're going to go over for throwing exceptions. If you like this video, make sure to check out the TVM YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.